Hello, I'm Richard Ridge for Broadway World. We're in Hollywood on the Warner's lot to bring you a behind-the-scenes look at Fox's upcoming A Christmas Story Live, which will air on December 17th.
Welcome to our little Christmas magic cul-de-sac on Warner Brothers lot.
I'm so excited I can barely speak about it.
It's so cool. I cannot describe how happy I am to do this.
Take a look around at these sets. If this is not Christmas to the nth degree, I don't know what it is.
This project is the culmination of every dream I had as a kid to be a performer.
It's unlike anything I've ever done. I sort of came in thinking, oh, this will be like putting on a Broadway show and we'll just film it. Like, I know a little bit about TV and I know a little bit about Broadway. Maybe those will just come together. And it's nothing like that. It's its own entity entirely that Mark Platt, I think, does so well. And he's teaching us all the way he does it. And so we're almost at the home run, we're in the home stretch, and we'll see how it turns out on December 17th.
I really liked the play. I saw it on Broadway and with Dan Lauria and John Ball and Aaron Dilley and loved it and all of them. And I just thought it was such a nice piece of material. I like Gene Shepard anyway, and then also Scott Ellis is a good friend, and he said, well, I'm doing it, so why should you not do it? So I said, okay.
You've never done a musical before.
No, I thought that I had done a musical before, only to realize that I hadn't. I incorporate music in the stuff that I write, and I feel comfortable there. However, it's never really been a proper musical, and I actually didn't know what that was. But it's real. It's serious. It's a lot. It's hard.
The first embers of my understanding of wanting to perform were watching Danny Kaye movies or Bing Crosby movies, and I didn't recognize that those films took months of work, and they would stop and start and reset lights and camera. I just thought that someone said action and they performed the musical for 2.5 hours. And having worked on Broadway and having worked in television and film, this is actually the closest I will have gotten to living out that childhood dream of action and let's do a musical.
The score has amazing music written by Pasek and Paul. Amazing writers, by the way. My favorite song has to be Ralphie to the Rescue, which is like a transfer to the Old West sort of style, which is really cool.
This is really exciting. Partly it's because we got to write new material for this, and we got to really flesh out the show, because this is it's going to be on for 3 hours, so we had to sort of expand some of the material. As personally, I'm the Jewish half of this duo. There's going to be a Hanukkah number.
He had gotten so sick of writing all these Christmas songs at the holidays. He was like, I think you need to write one Hanukkah song.
They say that, like lots of Christmas songs are written by Jews, but why not a Hanukkah song co-written by a Christian?
I mean,
see what I'm saying?
That's what the world needs, right?
Anna Gasteyer is going to sing that, and it's fun. It's called "In the Market for a Miracle," and it's kind of like a brassy musical theater number.
It's like hot jazz meets klezmer, whatever that might be.
Obviously, the show doesn't have a Hanukkah moment. It's a very, Christmassy affair. So it's nice to have it just from that standpoint, but also they really made it work in terms of story. That's where you see what professionals they are.
It's so different than the Broadway show, like new songs, new structure. So we're putting together a new musical, and it's going to be taped. So there's that whole process. And then while all of that is going on, we've also been working really hard in the studio recording for an album that will be released once the show airs on the 17th.
The only version of A Christmas Story that was ever recorded was when we were out of town at Seattle Fifth Avenue.
That was 7 years ago.
Yeah, at 2010.
The first draft of the show, really.
Right, and so we developed it, subsequently 2 more years before it got to Broadway. So there were many changes that went into it, and since
new songs, rewritten lyrics. I mean, it was very, very different, and we didn't have a recording of it. So now with this telecast, we get the chance to go in with this amazing cast,
and this feels like the completion of a 7-year journey with the show to have an album that really reflects what the musical has now become.
What's really exciting is the scope of this. We're shooting practically, as you said. It's an actual house. It's not on a sound stage. It's a house, and inside there's a kitchen and bedrooms, and then when we get out of the house, we get into the car and we drive and through the town square and go to Higbee's. I mean, it's really a massive undertaking that the cameras are going to follow us around, and we're going to be singing, and we're not going to have ear monitors. So we're really going to have to sort of just cross our fingers and trust that we can do this.
You know, as the narrator, for instance, I can discuss what's about to happen or what just happened, walking down the street and turn and go into a building, and there's the family eating their dinner. So the sets are in real time, and they're inside of the real exterior. We're also where Robert Preston shot Trouble in The Music Man, which every now and then I hold up a camera, and it's very little changed, so that's kind of cool.
We're gonna do like one scene and do the songs there, and then we're gonna hop on a golf cart and zoom to the next set until the commercial break ends.
Is that really exciting? The most exciting thing for you is the golf cart, right?
Yes, and for the past few days we've actually been timing how long it takes to get there so we know how much time we have.
Right now what we're doing is we're taking cameras and putting them on set. So we blocked everything, and now we're putting the cameras in and deciding, well, where does the cameras go? We're really blocking cameras, and then we look at all the shots, and then we'll go through and go, that's a good shot, or let's change that shot. Or so this is what we're doing. We're actually putting cameras on everything. So that's the process that you do, and it's the first time we're seeing it with different cameras. We've seen it on wide shots, but now we're seeing where the cameras are going, and when do you go for a tight shot, when do you go for a two shot. So that's how now the storytelling really begins, because we have to tell you that.
The tricky part comes in with Alex, our live director, because we have to make sure everything matches for camera. So, you know, a lot of things that were in theory, we can shoot it this way and this way. Now you're in a room and it's like, it's so much smaller than we thought. And so it's just a lot of sort of micro changes to make sure it'll all come together.
You watched your assistant earlier teaching some of the kids on the playground. So there's always rehearsals going on somewhere else in the building, right?
There's always something happening especially in our department. If we can grab anyone to sort of clean up, and kids are a little different because repetition helps. So anytime that they're down and they're not in school and they're not, with their R&R and everything, if we can get them for 10 minutes, we will grab them and just kind of keep drilling them and see what we can get out of them.
I used to tap back in the day. There hasn't been much call for me to tap in the latter half of my career until this, and I'm thrilled by that. That's been one of the most fun things to re-get that brain working. If anybody's seen me in the last few weeks, you'll see me at the grocery store, on the subway, just like trying to remember how to remember all the movements.
In Jane's fantasy number, her Shoot Your Eye Out, that idea of Ralphie gets his paper, which doesn't get an A, it's a C+, and at the bottom she has said, you'll shoot your eye out. And that's what triggers this fantasy of him going, oh my gosh, the teacher is never going to help me get this gun. And from that, the whole place, the whole schoolhouse breaks apart, and so the fantasy then transfers from the schoolhouse into this nightclub, that she then becomes this big tap dancer number. This number basically telling Ralphie, you're going to shoot your eye out, you're not going to get it.
Unbeknownst to me, I did not realize that "You'll shoot your eye out" was one of the most famous lines from the show. As now that I'm talking about it with people, or people come up to me saying, we can't wait to see the show on December 17th, I thought it was like Fragile or the tongue on the flagpole. I've come to realize that if people are not familiar which one it is, if you say "You'll shoot your eye out," they know. So I thought that's put a little bit more pressure on my number, considering it's called "You'll Shoot Your Eye Out."
What do you do in this broadcast? What will you all be doing? You're carolers? Tell me.
Yes, we're carolers, and we just go from different scene to different scene. We're singing, classic Christmas songs. We're gonna be harmonizing a little bit, looking pretty, so.
And pretty cold at that.
all in 1940s attire.
We went back to the Gene Shepherd story, the original story, not the movie, not the Broadway, which we are part movie, part Broadway, we're a hybrid, we're this live television. But we went back, and everything I showed him, we just said, well, it's really Norman Rockwell. It's really Norman Rockwell. So if you look at these wonderful Norman Rockwell pictures of Christmas, Norman Rockwell sort of summarized and celebrated and made into iconic images that on the covers of the Saturday Evening Post, Americana.
What are you looking forward to the most about the night of?
Honestly, when it's over.
Having a good time working and doing this for the last time.
I want to be over and back home and nothing terrible to have happened.
Honestly, it's just a very magical Christmas event, and I don't feel like people come to it as much with a sort of hostile sense of entitlement to it, as much as just I hope that they can just sit back and wrap their presents and enjoy it. Because I know there's these live musicals have their share of hate watchers, and hopefully I just don't feel like this one merits that. It's sort of a happy, peaceful song and dance affair.
A Christmas Story is really about the messiness of the holidays and how when the most unexpected things happen, or when things don't go the way that you plan, sometimes that's what actually creates the best memories. When the dog eats the turkey, or when you think you're not going to get the gift that you want, or when your dad is cursing, or all these things that feel like crazy and terrible. So we're kind of thinking maybe if
just lean into that with the whole live element of the
with
show.
dogs and children and all the things that could go wrong, maybe 10 years from now we'll be like, that was hilarious. Maybe the night of we'll be panicking, but maybe it'll all end up okay.
The second that telecast starts, anything can happen. And that is entirely nerve-wracking and overwhelming, and at the same time utterly exciting, because spontaneity is going to be what makes it magical.
I just hope that it comes off to the audience at home with the same joy and all the hard work that everyone's put in to it live as we're here.
To tune into A Christmas Story live
On Fox.
that way.
December 17th. Thank you. There you go.